That day, the atmosphere at St. Michael's Church was lively, filled with laughter, shimmering lights, and the scent of fresh flowers wafting through the air. Helen, the mother of the main character, sat in the front pew, her eyes full of pride as she watched her daughter Emily, the bride of the ceremony, walk down the aisle in a pure white dress. Everything seemed perfect, warm like any other wedding. Handshakes and blessings were exchanged. Smiles blossomed on the faces of family and friends. Everyone believed this was a new beginning filled with happiness. Suddenly, the church doors opened. A figure appeared, bringing noise and a cold wind that swept through everyone's mood. Alex, Helen's ex-lover, stepped inside. His eyes were sharp, filled with hidden pain as if unable to forget old wounds. The guests fell silent, sensing the tense presence that now filled the space. Ignoring the cautious looks from the guests, Alex approached Emily and shouted, "Who are you to this family? Who are you to stand here on my daughter's wedding day? A damaged goods. She's the one who led my daughter astray and made her lose all dignity." His words hit like an unexpected storm, shaking the entire hall. Emily, the bride, blushed with tears welling in her eyes, looking up at her mother. Helen stood still, silent, her eyes full of mixed emotions restrained within. The guests were stunned, unsure how to react, witnessing such chaos on a day meant to celebrate love and reunion. The atmosphere in the church grew heavy, sighs and whispers rising. Everyone looked at the mother and daughter, at Alex, wondering, what truth lies hidden behind those harsh words? Helen, the main character, remained silent, memories both sweet and bitter flooding her heart. Her daughter, the one she had always protected, now had to endure this pain on her special day. Under the warm golden lights, mother and daughter looked at each other, their eyes carrying a promise to face the storms ahead together. The atmosphere in the church seemed to freeze. Alex's words crashed like a violent wave, sweeping away the joy and peace that had filled the room. The guests whispered nervously, exchanging worried glances. Some stifled sighs, others bowed their heads in embarrassment. While everyone was still stunned, a tall figure stood up from the back. It was Mark, Emily's stepfather, who had stood by her side as a strong pillar throughout the years. Mark stepped forward, his voice deep, warm, and authoritative. "Alex, I ask you to be silent right now. This is our family's happy day, not a place for sowing insults." The seriousness in Mark's tone shifted all eyes onto him. The guests began to quiet down, listening intently to every word he said. Mark looked directly at Alex. "You used to be Helen S. Emily's mother, Slover. But you no longer have the right to interfere in her life or her daughter's. Leave the past where it belongs." He pulled a letter from his jacket pocket, his voice growing firmer. "I have something to say to everyone." Mark held up the letter. "This is the truth, a part of the past Alex doesn't want anyone to know. It is also proof of what I intend to protect. Peace for this family." Mark read the letter aloud. "Alex, I know you won't hear this from me, so I'm writing it down so no one will doubt the truth. You have hurt Helen deeply, not only with words but with actions. Emily deserves a happy family, and this stepfather will do everything to protect that. What you are doing today only causes more pain and does not change the past." The letter's words echoed through the silent space, causing both mother and daughter to shed soft tears that held both pain and hope for healing. Alex said nothing, his eyes flashing with a hidden sorrow. Mark stood firmly beside Helen and Emily, a symbol of strength and family love. The guests began to breathe a collective sigh of relief, some gently applauding in support. Order was slowly restored, but the atmosphere was forever changed. Helen looked at her daughter through reddened eyes and whispered, "We will move forward together, refusing to let the past hold us back." Emily nodded, gripping tightly the hand of her stepfather. Now that the wedding was over and the guests had dispersed, only Helen, her daughter Emily, and Mark remained together in the family's small living room. The room was softly lit by gentle sunlight filtering through the large window, yet it was filled with lingering memories of pain that had yet to fade. Helen sat quietly, her eyes weary and heavy with sorrow. She began to recount her past with Alex, a love filled with ups and downs and tears. "Helen and Alex were once deeply in love," Mark said gently. "They shared sweet days full of laughter and promises made to each other." Helen nodded, her gaze distant. "In the beginning, he was very romantic. He took me everywhere, promising a bright future. I believed it was true love. But then everything gradually changed. Alex started to change, becoming hot-tempered and suspicious. Helen's parents and friends began voicing concerns, adding pressure on the couple. Conflicts deepened, harsh words were exchanged, and long cold days stretched on. Helen shared. He promised he would change, but things only got worse. I felt betrayed, not just by his words but by what he did behind my back. Mark added. That breakup was not just a separation. It was the collapse of trust, a dream, and love itself. They spoke of sleepless nights, uncontrollable jealousy, and apologies that never became real. Helen, Emily, and Mark looked at each other, their eyes holding the weight of all the pain they had endured. Yet, they also understood the reason behind Alex's behavior at the wedding. It wasn't just jealousy, Helen said, but pain and long-held resentment. He couldn't accept my daughter's happiness, nor my growth, things he could no longer have. Emily, Helen's daughter, softly said, "No matter how painful it was, Mom has always been the strongest among us. She overcame everything so I could have today." Mark nodded. "And we will continue living for each other, for this family. No one can break the bond we have built." The painful past they shared was not just a story to tell, but a lesson, one that would help them move forward together, stronger and more resilient. After the dark days of the past, Helen, Emily, and Mark began to build a new life together. Each had their own role and responsibilities, but shared a common goal: to create a loving, understanding, and enduring home. Helen spent more time with Emily, not only as a mother but also as a companion, listening and sharing every joy and sorrow of her growing daughter. She understood that the warmth of her new family was the greatest strength, helping her overcome every hardship. Mark, the unofficial but responsible stepfather, always stood behind the two of them like a sturdy wall. He helped Helen face conflicts from outside and made Emily feel safe and unconditionally loved. Life after the breakup was far from smooth. They faced many psychological challenges, dealing with rumors, unfriendly glances from neighbors, old friends, and even close relatives. Helen often felt exhausted, questioning if she had the strength to protect this happiness. Emily sometimes fell into sadness, feeling isolated, especially when whispers about their family spread widely. But each time, Mark was the first to notice and help them stand back up. He organized outings and created spaces where Helen and Emily could relax and be themselves. During this time, Helen began joining support groups, where she shared and learned how to overcome shame and heal wounds. Emily also gradually opened up to new friends, participated in social activities, and built positive relationships. Together, they learned to accept, forgive, and love not only others but also themselves. Although outwardly they managed to maintain peace, inside each of them raged battles difficult to express. Helen spent many restless nights confronting feelings of shame from the past, mistakes she thought she had forgotten, but that still haunted her mind. She struggled with guilt and fear of loss, even sometimes questioning whether she deserved happiness. Emily, though she smiled on the outside and tried to live like an ordinary young woman, carried deep pain inside. The whispers and contemptuous looks from some guests at the wedding still haunted her. She tried to hide her wounds but often felt left behind and misunderstood. Mark recognized these struggles and became the most patient presence always beside them, listening and supporting mother and daughter. He understood that inner wounds could not heal quickly but required time and empathy. One rainy night, as the three sat together after dinner, Helen shared, "Sometimes I feel weaker than people think. I fear I won't be strong enough to protect you, that the past will come back to haunt us." Emily placed her hand on her mother's shoulder. "Mom, I have moments of weakness too. But I believe in you. You are the strongest person I've ever known." That inner battle helped them understand that peace is not the absence of pain, but the courage to face and overcome it together. They learned to maintain calm in tense moments, to let go of resentment, and make space for love. At the wedding, despite smiles, Helen and Emily always felt the threatening eyes and whispered words. They knew those were not the truth about them, yet the pain lingered deep inside. But with Mark's companionship, they gradually grew stronger, learning to turn cruel words into strength to keep living and loving. Through many trials, the bond between Helen, Emily, and Mark grew deeper than ever. They were not only a family but also companions and a steadfast support for each other through every storm life threw their way. Helen gradually regained her confidence and strength after the wounds she had endured. She was no longer alone in the long nights of inner struggle. With Mark by her side, she felt more loved and cherished with each passing day. Emily also found great comfort in Mark, the stepfather who not only took the place of a father, but became someone who truly understood and shared her soul. His encouragement and protection helped her stand strong in a world full of prejudice. Their relationship was strengthened through honest sharing and evenings spent gathered around the dinner table, where they talked about their feelings, worries, hopes, and dreams. Moreover, gradually the wedding guests, some of whom had once looked on with suspicion or criticism, began to understand and stand by Helen's family. They witnessed the power of love, resilience, and forgiveness. Voices of support, handshakes, and shared words made the atmosphere warmer and more united. The family became a strong fortress, pushing back all gossip, doubts, and bitterness. During an intimate gathering, Mark emphasized, "We are not just a family, we are a team. No matter what happens, we always stand together. True strength comes from love and trust." Those words were a firm affirmation, fueling Helen and Emily with strength and helping them believe that no matter how dark the past, the future can always be bright. As time passed, the wounds in Helen and Emily's hearts gradually began to heal. But no one expected that Alex, the one who had caused turmoil on the wedding day, would start to realize his mistakes. After much self-reflection, Alex approached Mark, seeking a conversation. The meeting took place in a tense atmosphere, filled with unanswered questions and Alex's evident discomfort. He admitted that his harsh words at the wedding were a mistake, an outburst born from pain and jealousy. He also apologized to Helen and Emily for the hurt he had caused. Though still harboring some doubts, Mark, as the family's pillar, listened to Alex. He set the condition that everything must be resolved with sincerity and respect. Not only with Mark, Alex also sought to make amends with Helen and Emily. He wrote heartfelt letters asking for forgiveness and promising never to hurt the family again. Helen was initially very hesitant. The wounds were too deep for her to easily open her heart. But thanks to Mark's persistence and the love she had for her daughter, she gradually realized that forgiveness was not about forgetting, but about releasing the burden to move forward. Emily, though young, also began to learn how to forgive. She understood that hatred only weighed down the soul, and forgiveness was a gift she gave herself. The process of reconciliation was not quick, but gradually forgiveness was given and received, opening a new chapter for all. The whole family sat together, exchanging and voicing things that had never been spoken before. They began to rebuild trust and affection, though it was not always smooth. The chapter ends with the image of the three, Helen, Emily, and Mark, sitting together with Alex over a simple, warm meal, signaling the beginning of a new harmony. Emily's wedding continued, but no longer with tension or harsh words. Instead, laughter filled the air, eyes shone with affection, and genuine joy radiated from everyone. After the storms, the family had finally found peace together. Helen looked at her daughter glowing in her wedding dress, her heart full of pride and gratitude. She knew that no matter how many trials they had faced, love and resilience had helped them overcome it all. Emily held the hands of Mark and Alex, those who had accompanied and supported her on her journey of growth. She felt the strength of family, love, and forgiveness, the values that made a true home. Mark stood beside them, his eyes filled with love and protection. He knew this home was not only a place to return to, but also a place to nurture dreams and hopes. Alex, once the source of pain, had now become part of the new family, with a promise never to hurt them again. This change surprised many but also brought hope. The wedding ended in a warm and emotional atmosphere. Everyone raised their glasses to toast a new, beginning a bright, loving, and united future. Helen, Emily, and Mark stepped out of the church together, entering a new chapter with light hearts and faith in true happiness. Life is never perfect, but with forgiveness, love, and companionship, they knew they could overcome any hardship.